everybody, and welcome back to Heidi's house. This is your host, Green Bee Heidi B. And today's featured guest is a house music pioneer, DJ, producer, and music executive, Merlin Bobb. I'm so excited to hear more about his house music journey. So, are you ready? Then let's go. So, here he is. Merlin Bobb is in the house. Woo!
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Such a pleasure to have you joining into this podcast that it explores global house music culture, and especially you as a pioneer of house music. It is such an honor to have you joining in. So,
Well,
yes.
thank you. It's my pleasure.
How are you today?
Doing great. Doing great. And like I expressed to you when we first talked, I'm grateful for what you're doing and pushing the culture forward and making people aware of the education that comes behind the music industry, being educated on the music you love. So this is great.
It's a true pleasure. Now, as you know, this is a very snapshot kind of short interview to share a little bit about your house music journey. And I don't think I need to introduce you to the most of our house music enthusiasts. However, since you've done so many things and you've been so instrumental, so essential to the development of house music. But however, I like to ask the same first question from all of my guests. I want to hear how do they describe themselves when it comes to the house music and artistry.
Well,
So,
you're giving me the hardest question first because I don't like talking
yeah,
about myself. But
exactly. So the
um,
first question goes,
well,
who is Merlin Bobb? How
okay.
would you describe?
Well, as I sit today, Merlin Bobb is a father and a grandfather and a um, music executive, etc. But my career started in the music industry, which I guess I consider myself a music vet. And it started with DJing. So I've always, even when I was an executive at Atlantic Records as the vice president of Atlantic and Elektra, and working within all genres from rock and roll to hip hop to dance to pop. Um, when anyone off into my office, they saw my DJ equipment behind me. And so no matter what, I've always said to myself, I am a DJ first,
Yeah,
because that is where you learn all aspects and facets of the music in general and the industry. So I guess I consider myself a DJ and a producer and music executive.
wonderfully said. And a very, very, very short synopsis of all the things that you have been doing and contributing to. But now, of course, uh, our DJs, especially myself included, uh, would probably want to know about the early years of your DJing. So, what got you to DJing in the first place?
Well, I was fortunate to grow up with great support from my cousin, whose name is Tony Humphreys, who I'm sure most people know is a DJ for many, many years. So we grew up loving music and then DJing for his mother or my mother's little Saturday night parties at the house and my aunt's parties, and then started DJing in the park together. Well, I wasn't DJing then; I was too young. He was DJing, and he was a few years older than me, and I would be there carrying his crates and so on. So it started from a young age. When I was 12 or 13, and started really getting serious about wanting to learn to DJ, he taught me how to DJ, Tony. And at that time, my best friend was another young man who was very instrumental in loving music at the time when we were teenagers, is Timmy Regisford. and he was my next door neighbor. And Tony actually taught the two of us how to DJ. And from that moment on, we said, okay, this is what we want to do. We want to be in music, and I knew I wanted to be in music. I didn't necessarily want to be a DJ for my own career because I knew there were other assets and facets to the business um, other than DJing, which I have much respect for. But I just had a calling to do more, and I wanted to do more. And when I found out about what A&R is, artist and repertoire, um, I kind of homed in on, okay, that's where I want to settle and I want to be in the business and I want to learn how to do the business side of the industry also and learn the creative side. To me, that covered all that I knew that I was capable of and wanted to learn in the music business. So um, from that point of 12, 13, learning to DJ, 16, learning what A&R was, I knew I had to develop my brand over
Mm.
time. And this wasn't this was in the 80s, so it wasn't when we had social media where you can go
Yeah.
viral overnight. We really had to work on our brand, and the best way back then to do it was through radio, because radio was the voice of music, and the music companies were the voice and gatekeepers of what people heard. So it's totally different than it was today because you only heard what the radio gave you and what the nightclubs gave you, and you only got it from the industry, which gatekept and only told everyone what to hear. Because
Mm.
if it didn't come through us as executives in the music business back then, no one heard it primarily, unless you were a live band playing somewhere and playing new music. So anyway, growing from there and DJing more, and I was able to get on the radio. Tony was on the radio, Timmy was on the radio. So I was next in line, so to say, and Timmy put me on after he took a step to start DJing internationally, and I went on the radio and started my own style of DJing where I used two and three well, three or more turntables. Um, I overlaid a lot of mixing two and three records at the same time back then because I always loved remixes. And I knew when I was on the radio, I had to people were listening to me before they went out to the club. So when people went out, I wanted them to hear these tracks, which a lot of them, maybe 50% they would hear because a lot of what I had back then were exclusives. I was
Mm.
getting music from Chicago, early house music, and I'm talking early 80s. So, it's very early house music. From New York, it was house music, and Chicago back then was house music, and New Jersey. All these three places were making the same style of music and listening to each other, and we were feeding each other. Um, so that's where, my show became popular because of my DJing style and because of the music I was playing was like, what is this music? It's all
Yeah.
new. And we were making it because we were all kids that grew up in underground nightclubs in Chicago, New York, New Jersey. And that's what we heard was disco and R&B. So for us, we put those two together as young up and coming producers, DJs. We just took a combination of what we heard and put it together, and we didn't know we were creating a new genre.
Mhm.
It was the last actually genre created in this country. Um, Hip hop was first, and then house music came after that in the 70s and 80s. So those are the two last genres. Everything else after that, from EDM to garage to whatever it may be, is all subgenres of these genres. So um, from that moment, it went to radio, and from radio, I had very much success on radio, which led to the record labels coming to me because I was also the assistant music director at the radio
Mm.
station. Over a couple of years, I became the assistant music director. She's assistant music director is the person who gets all the music in from all the different record labels, mostly major and independent record labels. So we have the connection with the record labels, and we decide, along with the program director, what the radio station plays on their
Yeah.
playlist. Um, so because of that, and I was doing a good job with that, the labels felt, hey, this guy can do A&R since he's got the number one station going. Him and the program director who choose all these great songs, he should be able to choose them for the world, as an A&R person. So I had Atlantic and Columbia at the time, and RCA, I believe, called me to ask me to come and interview A&R, and I did. And I chose Atlantic because of their rich history, and I grew up listening to all those Atlantic artists, Donny Hathaway, Aretha Franklin, etc. So that's where I chose to go. And there I spent 15, 10 years at Atlantic, I believe, and soon became the head of A&R for Atlantic, and then started my own record label called East West, which was a label that was out in the UK through Warner's. So I took that label and made it East West along with Sylvia Rome, my partner. We were partners in crime in this for many years. And she just recently just left as the chairman of Epic Records. So her and I, for many years, through Atlantic, East West, and then to Elektra, went on. So I was there as a music executive, working on all facets of the music for up until the mid 2000s, 10, I think it was or so. And I stepped out. Um, as a matter of fact, I didn't step out. We all left Elektra.
Ah,
It kicked us out because, after 20 something years, everyone has to move on in some way or another. So in this business, fortunately, like I always tell everyone, you always have to have ancillary things going on. I don't care if you're the president of a major record label, have something ancillary going on, whether it's your music pertains to music or entertainment or something else. So fortunately, I had nightclubs in New York.
yeah.
Timmy Regisford and I started a club called Shelter in 1991. And we did it because the Paradise Garage, which was our second home growing up, to like 14 or 15 or whatever it was, um, closed. So we wanted to open this club. And we never thought about it except for doing good business, good music, and a home for our crowd and the people that love this music. Because we didn't know how long house music was going to be around. We didn't realize today it's going to be the number one genre worldwide. We had no idea, but we wanted a place for people to come.
Yeah.
Um, so they did, and Shelter was a big hit, and for many years, and it still is a brand today that we use. We don't necessarily have a brick and mortar club anymore, but we have parties all over. Timmy takes it all over the world, and I do it here. And we have our anniversary party coming up this March.
Woohoo!
Shelter, yeah.
Great.
So
Wonderful.
Shelter is still doing well. But fortunately, like I said, when I stepped out of the executive side of things and I started to consult the record labels, I was able to take into account my business and grow it. So we opened up other clubs, Greenhouse and Whip and Juliet. They all became very, very popular clubs here in the States. But they were more hip hop driven, more EDM driven, et cetera, those clubs. But like I said, fortunately, working in all those facets of genres through the years made it even easier for me to have those clubs and to go after the right promoters, go after the right partners, et cetera, et
Yeah.
cetera. So fortunately, I've been doing the both for all these years, and we had an anniversary party about 3 years ago, which we had Louis Vega come play, and Joe Cassell, and Francois, and Carrie. Did Carrie Chandler come? I think. So anyway, it was all the guys that we kind of came up together,
Yes.
David Morales, and because we really started together, all of us. And well, Carrie's younger than me. I gave him his first record deal because he came in
Ah.
as a teenager wanting to do dance music. And we had just opened the Shelter. And I said, Carrie, give me a anthem for the Shelter,
Hmm.
and I'll give you a budget to go in and make some music. And he came back and gave us our first hit record, which was Shelter. on
Yeah.
Shelf Records, you know. And the rest is history, of course.
Yes.
Kerry, we're proud of him. He's doing great now. But we all started together, Louis and David and Carrie and those guys kind of encouraged me, along with DJ Spinner, along with Clark Kent, may he rest in peace, my good friend. They all encouraged me to get back out and start playing again since I had time now,
Mm, mm.
and I hadn't done it in over almost 20 years.
Ah, yeah.
And yes, over the last 2 years, I've been DJing more and producing remixes more and just enjoying it and having a great time. And I'm not just doing it for me, because I don't, it's not like I'm trying to build a brand again or anything. I'm doing it
Mhm.
for the love of it, but I'm
Yeah.
also doing it for days like today, doing this interview because it's important to me to move the culture forward, keep it moving forward in this genre of music that we created many years ago. And whatever I could do to help it move forward, and people that are looking to do that, like yourself, I want to be a part of that. And as long as we're doing good business and your intentions are good always, I'm in. So yeah, that's where I am now, and enjoying it every moment of it.
Oh, so many questions would come to my mind when I'm listening all of that and comments and thoughts. But really, when I'm listening all that, it truly it seems like beautifully things have been aligning, that everything that you have been doing has been making sense and has been supporting each area, like the DJing, the radio work. And I heard about that you were super popular in various radio stations over there, that it was like phenomenal, so to say, to have you there in the radio. And then that path going to A&R and kind of as DJs, we develop that selector mindset at its best,
Right.
and we hold a lot of tactile information, and it's beautiful how you were able to put that into very productive work in your music business and music entertainment side, so to say. And then what I'm listening also is that, like you mentioned in the beginning, that even though house music is very dear to you and you promote the house music culture and you have been one of the pioneers there, shaping the sound and really sharing it with the world through all these different means that you mentioned, then also the fact that you have so much knowledge about different genres, other genres, and the music in generals, in different areas. Um, I think that would be a complete own show itself, to go there.
But that's one of the
Yeah.
reasons, like I said, I want to do things like this because I do have
Mm.
that knowledge within, and I want to, I mentor people every day. I get calls
Yeah.
every day. It's hard to get to everyone, but I do mentor a lot, and I find that's very important. I have 4 kids, so I'm
Hmm.
used to it. I'm used to, mentoring and teaching the younger generation how to move forward in well, in their field, in their industry, or just in music in general, for sure, I
Hmm.
know. But I think that's important, very important, and that's what motivates me. It's not just going to play at the club again, even though I love it, and is
Yeah. Yeah.
to be there with an audience that's half my kids' age, I should say,
Yeah.
and they're understanding and really getting into it musically. And I found that since in just a matter of 2 or 3 years, the young audiences really changed. They're really getting into and exploring the music more, the artist more, and the music repertoires from different DJs in various genres under the umbrella of dance and house. They're being much more adventurous. I know we have a lot of technology, which is changing a lot of things, and but it's all good to me. I don't have a problem with it, because it still takes talent to make a hit record, if you're making it, and not just putting it in a computer or putting it in a app and letting them create it is one thing. But if
Mm.
you're still creating it, if you're still saying, I want this here, I want that there, I want this sound, I want this cadence to come through, etc., um, there's nothing wrong with using, I haven't yet, but there's
Mm.
nothing wrong with using some of the technology that's available today. Because if you think about it, when the synthesizer came out,
Yeah,
everybody's,
yeah.
what are you using that new technology? Da, 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 da. I remember then it was a big deal with certain producers, et cetera, et cetera. But it's really it starts that way, but then it comes down to the fact of who's really got the talent to utilize these things in the right way. And
Yeah.
we'll find out in the future, you know.
Exactly. I have had recently very interesting discussions on that same topic, and I just recently interviewed K. Alexi Shelby on the same matter for this
He's a good guy,
podcast. And
good guy.
yeah, amazing
He's a
music.
pioneer too, for sure.
Yes. And we were just talking about the thing that exactly the evolvement of technology. That imagine some of our amazing artists, like what who already passed, that if they would have had the access to the technology that we are having nowadays, that what else could they have done? Because really the cream always gets on the top. So it is, I mean, you can use these tools, but you need to know what you want. You need to have a vision. You need to have the skills. So they are tools really for
Of
the
course,
sake of the
of course.
creativity. Yeah. Now, talking about the inspiration, if okay, now since you are having such a broad and wide experience and probably taste in music in that sense also, it might be interesting now for our viewers to hear who would be the artists that have been inspiring you the most, if you think about some of the artists and which genres and so on.
Wow.
It's
That
all no, it's a big question.
that's a hard one because some of my when anyone asks me who are your favorite artists or your favorite song, I really it's hard not to go back to what you grew up with and what you grew up on.
Mm,
Because that they were the true inspirations that I had listening to my mother play on Saturday morning, all the R&B records that she bought or we bought that
mm,
week, and from Marvin to Barry to I mean Quincy Jones to it's hard to say. But today, I'm just inspired by all the young up and coming talent as far as producers and songwriters are
mm,
concerned in the genre of R&B and the genre of dance and et cetera, and the genre of hip hop. Like I said, I deal with the full spectrum of
yeah.
genres and have for umpteen years now. But I really don't have can't say I have a favorite right now
Mm,
because I love it all. I just inspired by great music and great talent. And I could mention a few, but then I'll be leaving somebody out, and I don't want to do that.
yeah, yeah, very understandable.
Um,
I know it's a tricky question, especially in
but
your case, since it's a very wide spectrum that you have been working with and
but there
listening
are
and
some
getting
some
influence.
some great talents and great DJs, and there's a lot of young women who are DJs that are coming up that I hear when I go out here in New York, and
Mm,
they're really inspiring because when I was coming up, when we were coming, there weren't that many young women that were DJing with us. It was all a man's world back then. And to
yeah.
see so many that are coming up now and that are really great is very inspiring. So, um, like I said, it's really about the next generation. I'm only here right now to help push everyone forward. I'm making music now to inspire and push everyone forward. I'm not making it for myself in a
Mm,
sense where I need to build a brand or I'm trying to put Merlin Bobb out there.
mm,
My main purpose is when I put out music and young people hit me back, or people in general, it doesn't have to be young people hit me in general and say they're inspired by this, and then they'll send me something they made. I'm like, wow, you know? So that's what it's about right now for me, mostly. And yeah, there are some artists that I like, but I don't want to leave out anybody else because I can't think of
Yeah.
very can't
We
think of
are
very
equal to everybody. We just like good music. That's it. Yeah. Now, something intriguing to me as a DJ and for our DJ followers for sure. If you think about your own DJing and you just described that, after a long pause you came back. If you describe your sound during your early years and compared to today, how would you say what are the things that have remained the same and what has maybe changed?
well. I think what's remained the same with my DJing 20 years ago, no, even 30 years ago compared to
Hmm.
now, is that I'm always looking for great songs. I'm looking for great melodies and great hooks, great harmonies. I'm not necessarily looking for what the story is, but necessarily the great vocals. I'm looking for unique vocals, all those things that I'm looking for. And that's what I started remixing again because I wanted to put those elements together and put it out there and see what's happening and see what the response is. And,
Hmm.
fortunately this year, since 25, right? Since
Yeah.
January, since January, I've released about 8 tracks, and all of them went top 5. Two of them went number one on track source. So just to know that people are appreciating it, and then I get feedback, and then we build on that. Um, so that stays the same. What's different with my DJing between then and now is that I don't overlay like I used to.
Mhm.
I leave that for the younger generation, younger guys to go through all that work. I'm not DJing 2 and 3 and 4 turntables like I used to before, that type of thing, as much. I still like holding mixes. I still like playing things under things where, it sounds like it's a call and response between two records. Um, those parts of my DJing are still the same, but as far as 2 and 3 records at the same time and the things I used to do before when I was younger, that I'm not going there. I leave
Yeah.
that for someone else these days.
Wonderful. Now, I have maybe two more essential questions here. This might be a bit tricky one, but how would you say, what is your definition of house music? How do you define? What does it entail?
Well, it's music from the soul, and that is can be a spectrum of things, but it has to make you feel um, like you're somewhat in a trance, like a soulful trance. You just feel like this big spiritual hug, in other words.
Mhm.
And that could be a hard four on the floor, or that could be a soulful Afro groove, or that could be, it could be a combination of so many different things. But um, like I said, when we originally were creating what we came out to be house music, we used to call it underground dance music before
Mm.
the label house music became a brand for this type of music. So
Yeah.
even though we were making it in New York and they were making it in New Jersey and Chicago simultaneously, Chicago, without a doubt, gave it the brand name and is the home to house music as a brand for sure. But we were all making the same music at the same time
Mhm.
and sending it back and forth. At least I was during that time. Um, so it was all a combination of very soulful vocals, but the track can go wherever you want it to musically. Um, it was about a great bass line that was very important to in early house music. Um, but it's so weird for me to talk about it is house music and not just music because that's what we were creating then. It wasn't, we weren't
Yeah.
thinking, oh, we got to make a house sounding crack. Oh, we got to make
Yeah.
That's the amazing part is that all of us in three different places, from Chicago to New York, New Jersey, we were all like, because of that foundation that Larry Levan and David Mancuso and Frankie and oh, I'm leaving my guy out in Chicago. Um, oh my goodness, I can't remember his name now. Well, anyway, everyone knows who they are out there. Those guys were our heroes. A lot of them were our heroes. So they were playing incredible R. They weren't playing house music back then. They were playing incredible R&B and disco that we just like merged together or blended together. And so we didn't think of it as like, oh, we got to make a track that sounds like Marshall Jefferson just make it. We had to make it. No, we were just making music from what we grew up with and what we heard. And that's house music to me. It's not saying that it has to sound like this, it has to sound like that. It just has to be a soulful expression of an up-tempo record, is what it is.
Beautifully said. So, you mentioned before about wanting to create your own club after Paradise Garage closed down. And that turned out to be the Club Shelter. So, what kind of vision you had about the club? Who did you want to reach, and what kind of club you wanted to build?
Well, we were like Timmy and I and Freddie Sannon, the three of us started Shelter together. Timmy and I are still partners, business partners in it. And Freddie is now the business partner that owns Shelter Records. So Timmy and I have Shelter and he has Shelter Records. So our inspiration back then was just simply we need somewhere else to party like the garage.
Mm,
Um, and it was our inspiration growing up in these nightclubs since the age of 13 or 14. We were in the loft and in the garage and all these places and just sitting, I literally sitting in the corner, sitting in the speaker, listening, learning. Like it was our school. It really was our school. We danced, yes, we danced, and then we till 10 in the morning, we'd go to Washington Square Park here in New York, sleep, dance in the park, then go back to the garage and dance all the rest of the night. Um, but we never partied. When I say we, I'm talking about myself and Timmy and Tony, all the guys, we were young, so we all hung together back then.
mm,
And we all grew up in New York. And needless to say, these were all underground gay clubs mostly. And even though we weren't gay men, they still accepted us. As long as we were cool, and we were young. So we were there just enjoying it and learning because they knew we really wanted to learn. And that's how Timmy got to work at the garage. I got to work at Zanzibar. Tony got to work. So, we built those relationships at a young age, and we're always around older people than us because we were out in these clubs all the time.
mm,
And the shelter was a idea that the three of us had, um, mainly because no one had a home again to go to. Like there were so many people that considered the garage their home. Like people every weekend that went there and saw friends and saw people who they considered family and heard the greatest music and the greatest sound system. And it was really curated um, for the people. It wasn't a DJ just there trying to be, oh, I'm great and popular. And no, and you come to see me only. No, it was a complete atmosphere of harmony. Um, if you can imagine that, but it was
mm,
something like you can never imagine. But it was just really like going home. So we wanted to recreate that because that's what we grew up with. And so yeah, we had our first shelter was down in Tribeca in New York. And our first party, Madonna threw her birthday party, our first party. I'll never forget that. Stevie Wonder used to come, Prince used to come all the time. It was a very, very popular club in the 90s. And Body and Soul started there, and So every DJ you can imagine and think of
Yeah,
is played at the shelter. We wanted to make sure of that. We didn't want it to be a place that was just Timmy and I, and no one else could touch the sound system. No, Tony Humphries played there, Louis played there, Dave Morales played there, Carrie has played there, Spinner, Clark Kent, I can go on and on. Frankie, Frankie played there. So anyway, that's what we wanted. We wanted a home for us, you know.
yes.
And I have to say, it was very much a learning experience because you're talking about Timmy and I are two young boys coming from Brooklyn, the
Mm,
hood in Brooklyn, both of us, different places, me, Bed-Stuy, and him from a different place. And we never owned businesses before. So obviously we learned a lot. We learned a lot. But it just goes to show you, and that's one of the reasons I consult and push forward and mentor so many young people coming up in the business now, especially DJs, that you don't have to just DJ. There's so many ancillary things that you can do. And you never know what's going to hit you and what you're going to fall into that can build your entire repertoire to be more than just saying, okay, I can spin and I spin well, but I can own a establishment. I can build a brand.
yeah,
I can own a record label. There's so many variations of things. I can start a publishing company. I could start licensing some of this music I make, and there's so many variations on things that you can do within the industry. And that's what I want to get through to so many people
yeah,
today. Um, but back then, that was our main inspiration was having another home for our family, which is the people that we partied with,
yeah.
and and having a great sound system because that's what we learned also. And fortunately at the time, Tim and I were both on the radio, so we got all the music, and we were working at the radio station at the same
Mm,
time. Um, and I know you said earlier, a lot of these things happen for me. It sounds like it happened in sync and all, but believe me, it was a lot of work.
lot of work for
I
sure.
never
For
slept.
sure.
I literally slept maybe 4 hours a night for like 30 something years. I really, you can't. You just got to keep going. And when you feel that you have that in you, then you can do it. Now I rest. I'm
Yeah,
like, 60 now. So now I rest.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I didn't then. And I knew I'd have time later on to dress. So I'm glad I did that. But literally, it doesn't just happen that way. Nothing just falls in your lap. And
yes.
young black men too in this business, it wasn't like things were going to fall in our lap.
Mhm.
Especially being executives at the labels, there weren't that many. And the positions that we've held, even Timmy was the vice president of Motown for a long time and did A&R also. So the positions that we held and that I held aren't there anymore. There aren't
Mm,
any, they're not there. So it's a very fortunate time that we grew up in the industry and that I came up in the industry because
mm,
um, yes, we had knocked down those doors, but at least those doors were able to fold down. Now those doors are not
yeah,
open at all,
yeah.
unfortunately. And it's just a whole nother, that's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother
Yeah.
2 hour conversation, believe me, unfortunately. But it's not a good thing, this industry, and where it's come to, what it's
Mhm.
come to, I should say. And it's primarily a tech industry now, the music industry,
Mm, mm.
not even necessarily a music-driven industry. I don't know a lot of music people that are still left in the music industry. It's all tech people that work at the labels now,
Yeah, it's
from my perspective. And,
tendency. Mm,
you know, it's hard to, I mean, you could take that with what you're hearing coming out of a lot of these labels now, attributed to who's running the labels.
mm,
And yes, we all grow and everything must evolve, and that's great. But a lot of young people, which I love, are not looking to these major labels anymore to be signed and to have a record label come to them like it's a big deal, because it's not anymore.
yeah,
It's a big deal to do it yourself or to find a smaller independent label, a production company, that has a strong team and brands well and grow with them and grow your own. Because remember, Atlantic Records was an independent label. All these major
Mhm.
labels were small independent labels at one time.
Yeah.
They didn't just come out the box and be majors. They all started somewhere. So now it's time for the next generation of real music orientated labels to be built. And that's what's happening. So that I think is a good thing. It gives room for growth for real music companies. Because the music companies we know of the old are really tech companies now.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, I renamed A&R is not necessarily artist and repertoire anymore, because that's the ability to find, discover, develop talent. Now A&R stands for, as far as I'm concerned, analytics and research.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's all that's
Yeah.
really mostly going on is what are the analytics, what are the numbers, and researching. Um, it's just a totally different way of doing and finding talent,
Yeah.
but not necessarily one that I like or that's
Yeah.
I think is beneficial to the music industry in general. But everything must evolve. We'll see how it goes. But I'm just grateful that there's not that doorkeeper anymore by the industry, that people can and creatives can actually create their own now and build their own, which is going to happen and it's got to
It,
happen. And for those that think they can't or that it's too, don't think that way because you could be the next Atlantic Records.
yeah. I totally and wholeheartedly agree with actually everything that you are saying and running the indie labels and building it and everything. I think that the future is there, and it also provides gives at least opportunity to provide maybe something creative, new, unexpected, and things like that because it's more still hopefully focused on the music itself and the creativity. So shout out to all creatives out there. Keep going and keep building. And then I love the fact, like you were describing, the working all the time, and I can agree with that as well. That when you are in the music field in business, it is very important that you take on several areas and you kind of try to work on them and then getting them aligned. So when describing that work, somehow I always feel that if you start and invest on one area, it will never be lost because then later you can connect it and benefit and use the knowledge that you build in another area, and therefore you can get them aligned when you have a vision and you have open mind and ability to see that, hey, wait a second, this skill set here connects here, and I can use this ability here
Yeah,
and there.
like,
So it's somehow a bit about trusting yourself also and using your skills and tools in a creative way. And I think as artists, we somehow naturally tend to think a little bit more creative and open-minded way, and we kind of somehow find the paths to put all that skill set into play.
yeah,
But it is a lot of work, not
no, it
many
is.
hours for rest.
It's a
Yeah,
lot of work, but it's worth it. It's
it
beneficial at
is.
the end. Believe me.
It is truly so, and it was so lovely when you described the phase that, like you said, that you guys in New York, people in Chicago, for instance, in Detroit, and everywhere there, you were, somehow noticing what is going on and in the air. What was that time there? What was in the ether, so to say, and you were kind of able to catch it and evolve it and so on. So I think that's how the things usually happen. I noticed that I might be doing something in this part of the world and somebody else is working on a similar thing, and then we connect and beautiful thing can happen.
The fact of it is that there is not in modern history, there's not a genre of music that hasn't not started in several places at the same time.
Mm.
Not one genre of music is just even rock and roll. Does it start with Fats Domino and wherever he came from? Was he in the South? or was it Little Richard, or was it, they were all in different places making that same kind of rock and roll music in the beginning,
Mhm.
because they were inspired by something that they've heard, even though they were in different states and different places. They didn't have texting, we weren't texting each other back then to
Yeah.
say, or to hear what somebody else was doing. They traveled maybe, and maybe they played at different places and people heard it and were inspired by it. But um, but yeah, and the other DJ I was talking about earlier that I wanted to give a lot of praise to is Ron Hardy, because I
Mm.
never met him, but I used to hear his mixes because Steve Hurley used to send them to me because he was on the radio back then. That's who I used to
Mm.
send a lot of music back and forth with in the early 80s, is me and Steve Hurley. And he used to send me tapes on Ron, and he used to just blow me away. Like this guy, like he is truly a godfather of house music, and Frankie is, and of course Larry Levan and T. Scott and all these guys that inspired us to do this. And that's what I want to be. I want to be not just inspiring those that are coming behind me from behind the DJ booth, but I want to inspire them in all facets of it, of the music business and entertainment business as I can. Um, because we never got a chance to really sit down and talk with those guys. We were inspired and we learned, and they were our teachers from what we saw and what we heard and what
Mhm.
we felt mainly from them, because we felt something from them that we knew was instilled in us that made us do and create what we did. And that's the most important thing for anyone young up and coming in any genre, any facet of music, is you got to be honest to what you feel, even if you feel like it's not good. Like I didn't do remixes early in my career up until now because I didn't think I was good at it. And you have to be
Oh.
honest with yourself. No,
Yeah.
seriously, I really didn't think I was good at it, and I didn't think I was there. Not until now when I'm doing, like I said, I had 8 remixes this year and all in the top five.
Yeah.
And now I get it. Now I know what I want. Now I know because of all these years of experience I've had. But
Mm.
if I had tried it back then, I wouldn't have been satisfied. I wasn't satisfied, but now I get it. So there are things that, over time come to you also, and in this industry. And music is something that you're never too young or never too old to create because it comes from within. And if you still have in touch with that musical sense that you have, you can always do it.
Beautifully said. And actually, that leads to my second last question, which was your advices to aspiring DJs or producers. You actually mentioned quite a lot there already, being open and trying, to put your stuff out there and everything, and seeing multiple, pathways to build your brand and everything. But is there anything else that you would like to share with our audience on that matter?
Coco, quiet. Um, I think the most important thing, like I just mentioned, is being true to what you feel. Whether you feel it's really good or you feel like you're inspired to create something really good, or if you create something and you don't think it's great. You can't like everything you do. Um, and it's about being honest with yourself. Because in order to be successful in any business, especially in music, you have to be honest with yourself and you have to be true to yourself. And you have to have a sense of really connecting with your musical sense. In other words, um, if you're into music, you know there's certain things that you can and cannot create. And let's keep it on what you can. There's things that you know you can do. You just don't know how to. And sometimes you'll fall back and not create and not do those things, but you have to push that forward. That's what pushes you past, the ordinary. That's what pushes you past everyone else who's doing the same thing. And being that you have 80,000 songs coming out a day now, you have to do that more than ever. You have to listen to your inner self more than ever, because that's going to direct you. Because there's just too much going on out here and around you.
Yeah.
Um, decades ago when these artists that we revere now and love were creating, they were in kind of quiet places doing these things. When I say quiet places, they didn't have all the craziness going around them and distractions. So
Mhm.
they're able to go in the garage, you know, four teenagers and start a band called
Yeah.
Metallica or something. You know what I mean? And or be a group that gets together and calls themselves a Tribe Called Quest, But
Mhm.
young people today have so many things that are distracting them from that they don't really hone in on it. So that's important. You have to hone in on that creative aspect of who you are and really focus in on it and build on it. Um, Today, that's very important because, like I said, there's not been a new genre, and until young genres are youth driven. Every
Yeah.
genre we've had has been a youth driven um, and a culturally driven genre from the youth. And the youth are doing so many things now that they're not, oh, let's get together and get in the garage, or let's start this group, or start that. It's a
Yeah.
distraction. So if you're an individual, you have to home in on and really home in on your musical talent and really be quiet with it for a while so that you can grow it. And
Yeah.
because you're feeling that, it means that it's there. So that means even if you've never done something before, what you're looking for is homing in on it so you get the opportunity to get it,
Mhm.
to do it. And once you get that opportunity and you do it and you see like, wow, I didn't even know how to do this, but I'm doing it well,
Yeah.
it's a snowball effect. It just continues to come.
True.
But you got to quiet yourself because you got to listen to what's in there musically.
Very beautifully said, and I agree with those things. You do need to be able to silence all the distractions in the world and really finding your own voice, your own sound, and that's the way really to create something unique. Uh, in this world which is full of things that you could take and follow and so on, but really finding your own path. And I think it's not only in the music but in life generally,
Yeah,
that creating your vision and the centering there, um, so that you can create from that source something unique.
yes.
um, Now, last but not least, could you share us a little bit about upcoming projects a bit more? I already know also about some of those remixes and have listened them and so on, but something for our audience maybe. What's
Well,
next?
I I have a couple of projects coming. One is a Soul and Horn album, which they just licensed a remix that I did on an incredible young and up and coming female vocalist by the name of Madison McFerrin. And like I said, I do these remixes really to highlight as much as I can young talent and young great songwriters and vocalists. And so that's coming out on, it should be out this week actually. But it's an incredible album overall. And then I have other remixes that I'm doing with Masaki Mori, my remix partner, I should say, from Japan. Is extremely talented musician and remixer and producer and DJ. And Mark Francis, of course, partner in crime, and Timmy Regisford, and we all have a lot of different remixing projects coming out. I'll be DJing in London soon, so I'll be there, and a few other places. But anyway, it's not about
Yeah.
not about not about me. I just want people to really, like I said, home in and create great music because it's going to be a while before we get an exciting new genre that we can all get around and in this music industry today. But um, until that day comes, it's really I'm just looking forward to all the great talent that's being built now because there's still so much great talent out there. I see it every day. So that's the exciting part for me.
Wonderful. I thank you once more of this interview, and of course, we are waiting to see what these few years are bringing to the music, business and to the music culture in general. All those kind of technologies and things, how they will shape the future sound, so to say. And we, of course, support the new emerging talents there, all of us, in the ways that we can, playing their music, promoting them, talking about our experiences and mentoring and everything else. So thank you once again of all the things that you have done for the music culture, not only house music culture, but music culture in general, and what you
Thank you.
keep doing in present day and also in the future. And I'm sending you lots of blessings and love straight from Helsinki, Finland.
Thank you. Thank you. And I appreciate, like I said before, what you're doing. I think it's wonderful and keep up the great work. And the last thing is our shelter party, anniversary party is March 6th, March 6th, 2026. So if anyone from Finland wants to come, just hit me on the DM. If you're in New York, I'll put you on the guest list, okay?
All right. So
Let me
that's
know if
my
you're
new
coming. Are you
project.
coming? Are you coming?
I will come, okay.
Okay, good, good, good. All right.
It's a deal.
Okay, great, great.
Thank you so much, Merlin, and sending again good vibes and looking forward all of those releases. Actually, if there is somebody who don't know where to find you in social media, where can they find you in social media?
Merlin Bob 4 on IG is the best place, or Facebook, or any place else. You just Google me, you'll see. You can find me. It's not hard these days to find anyone, so
Exactly,
no
exactly.
problem.
So once again, thank you so much,
Pleasure.
and
Pleasure.
everything wonderful to your day. And ciao, ciao.
All right. Ciao.